Next on the news, from a special mass in Brooklyn to tributes in Calcutta, the world remembers Mother Teresa 25 years after her death. And
so we want to make sure that all these things work together so that we can have the best Catholic school system in the country.
As students in the Diocese of Brooklyn head back to school, we'll speak with the new superintendent about his plans for the new year. Plus, they are grieving, but they also have hope. Students in Uvalde, Texas return to class in the wake of a deadly shooting. And the 94-year-old World War II veteran who's brightening lives by serving in a different way. I'm Christine Persichetti. Currents News starts right now. She's been gone for a quarter century, but with heartfelt celebrations stretching from Brooklyn to Calcutta, it's as if Mother Teresa never left us. She dedicated her life to God and to helping the sick and the poor. And this weekend, the tribute to Mother Teresa stretched around the globe. The faithful in the Diocese of Brooklyn remembered the beloved saint in a special way. This Mass at Our Lady of Victory Church in Bedford-Stuyvesant on Monday commemorated the 25th anniversary of the death of Mother Teresa. But Bishop Robert Brennan said it's a celebration and, for him, an honor.
I've known about the Missionaries of Charity for a long time, and I always dreamed that I'd have a chance to be able to offer Mass with you, to pray with you, and wow, to be able to celebrate this feast day, and especially in this Jubilee year. This is a big, big deal, and I'm so, so grateful.
Mother Teresa founded the Missionaries of Charity, and 30 years ago, she visited this church to dedicate a new convent mission house for the religious order. The bishop talked about the time he met Mother Teresa while he was serving in the Diocese of Rockville Center.
I'll never get out of my head the image of Mother Teresa holding up her hands, reciting those lines from the Gospel. You did it for me.
And the Nobel Prize-winning nun did everything for the poor. She dedicated her life to care for the impoverished and sick. Mother Teresa died in 1997 and was beatified in October of 2003. Bishop Brennan called St. Teresa of Calcutta a great saint for the 20th century.
She was great and teaches us to see Christ in the other. But she also realized at a deeper level that she herself was to be conformed in a very special way to Jesus. Because the love that she brought was not her own, but the love of Jesus himself.
Mother Teresa visited the Diocese of Brooklyn a few times. In 1972, she went to St. Matthew's Church in East New York. And in 1981, she opened her religious order's first convent in the diocese at Our Lady of Lourdes Church in Bushwick. That convent mission house I mentioned, that continues Mother Teresa's work at Our Lady of Victory in Bed-Stuy. It's called Queen of Hope. It's dedicated to helping troubled pregnant women, giving them room and board, as well as diapers, bottles, and other baby supplies. But the sisters do so much more, giving the women emotional support and practical lessons in life. Over in Calcutta, where Mother Teresa served the poorest of the poor, there were many more tributes for the Albanian nun. In the morning, the Archbishop of Calcutta placed flowers at the feet of a statue of Mother Teresa. Her order, the Missionaries of Charity, celebrated Mass at their mother house. Out on the streets, the love for Mother Teresa poured out in floral tributes to the Archdiocese's patron saint. And finally, there was a Mass at her tomb, followed by the kissing of a relic of Mother Teresa. Tonight is a school night for Catholic students across Brooklyn and Queens. Wednesday morning, they will be back in class, welcomed by their new teachers and a new head of schools. Deacon Kevin McCormick is the new superintendent for Diocese of Brooklyn Schools, and the educator of almost 40 years is ready to jump into his new role, even laying out 3 things he wants to focus on his first year out. I spoke to him ahead of the first day about what they are.
First, it's the kids. So we want to make sure that we continue to provide the best education with the Catholic background that we can. Second, is the principal and the teachers, because that's where the rubber meets the road, and we have to make sure that they're given what they need, and make sure that we respect and appreciate and make the most out of the sacrifices that their parents are making. And then finally, it's the diocese itself. Bishop Brennan has made it very clear that education is a central part of what he wants to make done. So we want to make sure that all these things work together so that we can have the best Catholic school system in the country.
And it is the best system. I actually went through the Catholic schools here. So 21 of our schools now, though, are reporting like a 20% increase in enrollment. It's amazing to see this. Talk about what facilitated that increase and how do you plan to keep it going?
Well, how it works is it works because you have a good principal who works with a really dedicated pastor and a board chair. And the three of them come together with a common vision and a common ability to lead. And then from there, it all kind of folds together. You know, that's the key. What we want to do is we want to continue to strengthen our principals, strengthen our boards, and continue to have our pastors support education. And so many do. And that's what makes it so wonderful, is that the guys out there know the importance of Catholic school for their parishes and for the diocese in general.
Yeah, so it's kind of like getting the word out, let everybody know in your parish. And now I'm sure you've heard there's a nationwide teacher shortage. A lot of the schools in New York City are experiencing this, the public schools, but it's not affecting the Diocese of Brooklyn schools. Tell us, how have we managed to avoid that problem when everybody else is experiencing it?
What we do is our schools have a very clear mission, and people will do what's rewarding as well as rewarded. And so when you have a school that has a mission, that has a community that's built, that is very easy to use the metaphor family, people are willing to make that sacrifice.
That's wonderful to hear. Now, we've seen an influx of migrants being bussed into the city recently. If a migrant student wanted to enroll in one of our schools, how would we accommodate them?
Well, right away, you have to respect the widow, the orphan, and the foreigner. That's what the scriptures tell us. And so when someone comes to us, especially the people who've been brought here for whatever reasons they were, we will take care of them directly. Many have ended up in Manhattan, and certainly the Archdiocese is working with that. We, though, have always reached out to people from different cultures because Jesus himself was an immigrant when he went into Egypt and had no place to live. So we know very well that if the boss went through that, we got to make sure that we take care of them as well.
Absolutely.
So if there's ever an issue, they would work directly with their pastor and with their principal. And then if there were any other concerns, we'd look to Futures, we'd look to our office. We will take care of anybody and everybody who comes to us.
Because there's always scholarship money to give to people who are in need.
But
correct?
not enough. So anybody who's listening, they may want to give, but I'm not here to push that.
But I mean, it's an important thing to let people know.
We give out quite a few dollars. Futures in Education is a tremendous program and have really have helped so many of our schools and our families, directly our families, but so much more needs to be done. So sometimes, and I know this isn't a pitch, but if it were, I would say if you went to a Catholic school or a grammar school or a high school and you're doing well, kick back. Right. Because the sisters and the brothers, they were the legacy then. They don't exist. It's lay people and lay men who are doing the work out there, and we need people to help and to continue that.
That was Deacon Kevin McCormick, the new superintendent of schools for the Diocese of Brooklyn. The deacon says he will spend the first 2 weeks of the new year visiting schools and seeing students. Currents News' Jessica Easthope will be with the superintendent on the first day back, so be sure to tune in to Currents News at 7 p.m. on Wednesday for full coverage. Enrollment for Diocese schools is still open. If you'd like to give your child an education from the Diocese of Brooklyn, visit CatholicSchoolsBQ.org or call 718-965-7380. If you're a parent and want to apply to that scholarship program Deacon McCormick mentioned, Futures in Education, or if you want to donate to Futures and help a student attend a Catholic school, just go to futuresineducation.org. And if you're interested in getting a jump start on the high school admissions process, then you can check out the Catholic High School Expo for Brooklyn and Queens. It'll take place from 6 to 8 p.m. on Wednesday, September 21st at St. Joseph's College in Brooklyn, and on Thursday, September 22nd at St. John's University in Queens. Registration is free, and for more details, just search Catholic High School Expo 2022 on eventbrite.com. It was a Caribbean comeback in Brooklyn Monday as New York City welcomed the return of Juve and the West Indian American Day Parade. The festivities kicked off with a mass at St. Matthew's Church in Crown Heights, after which marchers clad in paint and colorful costumes paraded along Flatbush Avenue and Eastern Parkway. The annual Brooklyn tradition dates back to 1969, but Monday was the first time it was held in person since the start of the pandemic. Residents at one of New York City's largest public housing complexes have been without safe drinking water for more than a week. According to NYCHA officials, dangerous levels of arsenic have been discovered in the tap water at the Jacob Riis houses in the East Village last week. While test results from Monday did not detect any more arsenic, officials are still advising residents to not drink tap water until it is deemed completely safe. Until then, more than 2,500 residents at the development will have to live off of the bottled water and portable watering stations that the city has provided. Water pressure has been restored in Jackson, Mississippi after recent flooding caused a water crisis there. A boil advisory is still in place until the water is deemed safe to drink, but as Cody Thomas reports, residents have been voicing their concerns over the city's water quality since before the floods.
Put 6 in there with you. Can you unlock this door?
The humidity is high, the sun is beating, but it doesn't matter for the volunteers at Fondren Church.
Just a back seat? Have a back seat. Thank you very much.
On this day, the church handed out more than 1,000 cases of water they received from private donors. They say in Jackson, the only thing they can rely on is each other.
Thank you.
Because it's certainly not the water.
This is not a new issue. Just think about growing up, having boiled water alerts as a kid, and my mom, she's cooking with jugs. Like, that's just been a normal thing for us for decades now.
Cooking with bottled water.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we've run the citizens of Jackson. I'm one of them. My family's one of them. We've grown numb to this.
Here's how the numbness plays out. When Jackson was placed in a boil water advisory in late July, people here tell us they simply adjusted their daily routine per usual, thinking it'll last a day, maybe 2. Now it's September, and there is no end in sight.
This is ridiculous. This is the state capital, and I feel like I live in a third world country.
Moore says she's beyond angry. Officials have ignored Jackson's infrastructure issues for decades.
That's really what has been bothering me. And they're all acting like, this just started after this flood. We have had this going on long before it flooded.
It's a pretty big pot.
For Yumika Walls, this painfully long boil water advisory may be the reason she finally leaves her hometown.
That's not just a city issue. The state should have been stepped in to help us with that, but no, just let Jackson go on. We're the throwaway city.
From Jackson, Mississippi, I'm Cody Thomas.
Catholic Charities in the Diocese of Jackson has started distributing water to help with the crisis. Last week, the charity gave away dozens and dozens of water bottles to people in need with help from Catholic Charities USA and affiliates in neighboring Louisiana. Catholic Charities disaster response team is also assisting displaced families due to the flooding. To help the flooding victims, just go to CatholicCharitiesJackson.org. There will be a direct link to their flood relief efforts on their homepage. There's a lot more news headed your way. It's the first time they're entering a classroom since a gunman opened fire in their school. We'll check in on students in Uvalde, Texas on their first day back. Plus, there will soon be a new saint in the Catholic Church. We'll take you to the beatification of John Paul I. And Pope Francis isn't heading to Kyiv, at least not right now, what the Holy Father revealed in a recent interview when we come back.
There are now some big changes to the tablet website. You can get personalized access to the Catholic news you value. Sign up for free at thetablet.org.
Student survivors in Uvalde, Texas returned to class for the first time since a mass shooting in May. For students, parents, and staff, the day was marked by grief, heartache, but also hope. As Gloria Pazmino reports, months of preparation by school staff was put to the test.
I can still hear the gunshots. It was very terrifying and traumatizing for me.
A somber back to school in Uvalde. More than 3 months since the shooting at Robb Elementary in Texas left 19 students and 2 teachers dead, children and staff in the Uvalde Consolidated Independent School District returning to class Tuesday. A new school year unlike any other, marked by grief, heartache, but also hope.
I'm just nervous, that's it. So I'm just trying to do for his behalf and be there supporting him.
The Robb Elementary campus has shut down permanently since the attack. Former students now spread out at other nearby elementaries, while some have opted for virtual learning and others have left the school district completely.
Went and talked to my son and I told him, you know, that they're going to have more cops, they're going to have higher fencing, and he wasn't having it.
Despite heightened security, safety precautions, and months of preparation, families who already lost one child in the massacre worry about sending another child back to school.
This is something that terrorizes you daily and nightly. I close my eyes, all I see is my son. I hear the gunshots.
And for those heading back to campus, support is pouring in many ways. K9 comfort dogs are on campuses to make the somber day a little easier. In Uvalde, Texas, Gloria Pasmino, Currents News.
Some Uvalde families who are critical of the school district's safety protocols have decided to transfer their children to Catholic school. At least a dozen students from Robb Elementary already started classes at Sacred Heart Catholic School in August. More than $1.5 million in contributions have gone towards their tuition as well as enhancing security on campus. Despite this, the school counselors there say they are more focused on the mental well-being of the students.
If the basic needs aren't being met, then it's really hard to get to the learning piece of things. And so when kids know that their hearts are taken care of and when they're having hard to have feelings, that there's someone who helps them get to a point of feeling healthy and well, spiritually, mentally, and emotionally, it makes a huge difference in their success at school.
Support for the students at Sacred Heart was made possible thanks to the nonprofit Catholic Extension. The organization also plans to send 100 religious sisters to Uvalde over the course of the next 18 months to help heal the emotional wounds in the community. Meanwhile, San Antonio Archbishop Gustavo Garcia Siller spent part of his Labor Day weekend meeting with other bishops along the border. 15 bishops from both Mexico and the U.S. gathered in Nuevo Laredo for the first time since the pandemic for an annual 3-day meeting to talk about migration issues and the current immigration situations in their dioceses. Besides discussing the migrants, the bishops also got to visit with them, stopping by a nearby refugee facility. The Biden administration has now admitted 1 million migrants to await hearings on whether they can stay temporarily in the U.S. But many of them will have to wait 7 years on average before a decision on their case is reached because of the immigration backlog. The U.S. has allowed some migrants to stay temporarily for a number of reasons, including their native countries not taking them back. Tens of thousands of pilgrims migrated to St. Peter's Square to see the smiling Pope get beatified. Pope John Paul I is the shortest serving pontiff since 1605, but his brief time as a successor of St. Peter showed a more human side to the church. Justin McClellan reports.
Well, the sky is clear now, but the thunder and lightning that struck as the Pope was beginning Mass couldn't stop the thousands of pilgrims descending right here onto St. Peter's Square to watch Pope Francis beatify his predecessor, Pope John Paul I. He's known as the Smiling Pope. Albino Luciani, who became Pope John Paul I, led the church for only 33 days. But Pope Francis immortalized his legacy on Sunday by declaring him a blessed, just one step short of the church's highest honor, sainthood.
Ioannis Paulus Primus, Papa.
Some 25,000 gathered in St. Peter's Square despite harsh weather to remember the last Italian pope to date. Although his pontificate was one of the shortest in modern history, Pope Francis praised the way in which he showed a warmer, more human side of the church.
E con il sorriso Papa Luciani è riuscito a trasmettere la bontà del Signore. È bella una chiesa con il volto lieto, il volto sereno, il volto sorridente.
His sudden and unexpected death, credited to a heart attack by the Vatican, gave rise to rumors and mystery that overshadowed the other remarkable features of his pontificate. He was the first pope to choose 2 names, as well as to turn down a papal coronation. Now he is on his way to sainthood, And to get there, it will only take a miracle. John Paul I comes one step closer to joining the ranks of Popes Paul VI and John Paul II, modern popes who have been declared saints. In St. Peter's Square, Justin McClellan, Currents News.
Pope Francis's next official big event is his trip to Kazakhstan next week. There were rumors he could go to Kyiv, Ukraine before then, but the pontiff is now saying that's not possible. In a new interview with CNN Portugal, the Pope said he has been forbidden from traveling by his doctors due to his ongoing knee troubles. The Holy Father said an overall visit to the Ukrainian capital is up in the air, saying he is in communication by phone and he will do what he can. Still to come on Currents News, what a way to celebrate your 91st birthday. Next, the high-flying wish one woman crossed off her bucket list, and the World War II veteran who's now dedicated his life to a different kind of service, one that brightens lives. Do you have a story idea or want to share a tip? Email us at newstips@desalesmedia.org or call our 24-hour number, 718-517-3122. We'll be right back. It was a leap of faith for one Minnesota woman as she celebrated her 91st birthday by going skydiving. I always wanted to do that. Ida Shannon's church banded together to give her the high-flying birthday gift. She said she likes to take risks, and skydiving just happened to be next on her list. Ida said that she was most excited to go skydiving because she wanted to experience God's creation.
The first minute or two is going to be kind of scary because you have to wait for the chute to open. But after that, I expect to be able to look down on God's earth and enjoy what God has created. We're made to be together. We're made to need each other.
Ida has always been a big fan of going on adventures. She even surprised her church by going zip-lining for her 80th birthday. Gotta love that. He's a World War II hero who's still serving, but in a different way. At 94 years young, the vet volunteers at Shriners Children's Hospital in St. Louis. Holden Kerwicki has the story.
If you've walked through the doors at Shriners Hospital, you've probably come in contact with Carl Hall.
When you see Carl, you just light up.
The 94-year-old World War II veteran has seemingly seen it all in his life.
I got over to Europe at the end of the war, going to the South Pole, Berlin, the airlift. I was in Iran while they still have a king.
Since retiring in 1990, he's dedicated his life to a different kind of service.
Right now, here's what I'm doing, just handing out the toys. You can have that one. Reach up and pick it off.
You want the Paw Patrol toy?
And I got the nice bears here too.
For the past 32 years, Hall has handed out smiles to everyone who walked through the door.
Carl treats us all like we're a part of his family.
Thank you. It's real helpful to your physical, mental, because you're helping kids get better. I've seen kids come in here that couldn't even walk or do anything. And when they leave, they're like a regular kid anymore. It's just amazing.
He loves the patients, and his biggest joy is seeing the patients smile when he gives them a gift and talk to them and have a conversation about how special Shriners is to them.
However, Hall has brought more than just happiness into the hospital. Over the years, working with a number of church groups and community organizations, he has helped raise more than $270,000 in donations.
If people give me money to bring in, I bring it in. Or I've seen some, what I saw as babies coming in now with their babies. And that gives you a good feeling because you know that somebody's here to help.
That was Holden Kerwicki reporting. Carl says as long as God helps him, he'll keep manning his post at the hospital. How wonderful. And that is Currents News. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.